Hanju hides his power so well, even allies underestimate the monster nearby. Spoiler warning, we are jumping straight into the next stretch of this cultivation manhwa. Hanju is the kind of protagonist who gets absurd potential, looks at the entire immortal world, and decides the safest move is not flexing. He would rather cultivate quietly, avoid drama, and let everyone else chase fame. But here is the problem. The more power he gains in secret, the more the world keeps dragging trouble to his doorstep. Demons, sect politics, powerful women, weird companions, and heavenly pressure all start circling him, and every time he tries to stay low-key, something even louder exposes how dangerous he really is. The pressure starts in a mountain sect setting, where cultivators gather around a small gray spirit beast, and the mood already feels wrong. A long-haired male cultivator appears near the water with the creature, almost like this is still a quiet moment, but then a red-haired woman and other female cultivators enter, and the air tightens fast. The red-haired woman becomes the focus as a dark, demonic-looking enemy emerges near the group, turning the scene from sect discussion into full danger. Then it explodes into combat. A powerful male cultivator throws out a huge palm-like energy attack, and a named technique, the heavenly punishment ghost deity sword, enters the battlefield. But the wild part is, even that does not settle things. Lightning gathers, a purple-haired presence appears, and a pale woman steps into the unresolved chaos. And here is where the trail gets frustrating, because this part of the story cannot be safely reconstructed from the available evidence. The pages for this stretch are not visible in the provided material, and there is no readable dialogue or OCR to confirm who moves, who survives, or how the previous lightning pressure resolves. So instead of pretending we know, the cleanest read is that the story passes through an unseen bridge between the demonic confrontation and the next sect world shift. That matters, because the recap has to protect the actual plot instead of inventing fake connective tissue. What we can say is that the tension clearly carries forward. The world around Hanju is still unstable, dangerous cultivators are still moving, and when the story becomes visible again, the thread has not vanished. It has simply changed shape. When the evidence picks back up, the tone swings between ominous danger and straight comedy. Several robed figures appear in a bleak setting, discussing a serious threat, and a shadowy figure stands near someone who seems to have fallen. Then, suddenly, the story cuts to a much lighter sex scene where a blonde young woman hugs a round gray bird like it is the most precious thing in the world. Hanju, shown as the calm blue-robed cultivator, talks with her and a small brown-haired girl, but you can feel him calculating behind the polite face. He is not trying to shine. He is trying to avoid exposure. System-like prompts appear around his choices, pushing that familiar joke. Every social interaction is somehow a cultivation landmine. Then Huang Jihao notices an elegant figure in the distance, completely misreads the vibe, and the favorability system rises again. That comedy does not last, because the next visible stretch drops us onto a barren battlefield with the tension already boiling. A dark-haired cultivator stands apart from an orange-haired man and a brown-haired woman, and nobody looks relaxed. Their conversation carries suspicion, anger, and a sense that someone is thinking about capturing someone else for status in front of powerful elders. Before the argument can settle, attackers rush in. A beast-like or armored thread tears through greenish energy, blood cuts across the scene, and the dark-haired cultivator has to move fast with sword strikes while the others struggle to keep up. After the clash, the group pushes into a wooded or cave-like area and encounters a green-faced or masked figure who looks restrained or controlled. Then another hostile fighter steps in, hungry for recognition, and launches a sword assault that turns the whole confrontation personal. This next link is another place where the evidence goes dark. The reference pages are not available to inspect, and the transcript gives no readable text, so there is no safe way to name the players, describe a fight, or claim a power reveal. And honestly, that caution matters here, because the visible sections around it are packed with shifting alliances, disguised threats, and system messages that could completely change the meaning of a scene. What survives is the structural pressure. Hanju's path is not calming down. The earlier battlefield conflict and the later favorability crisis sit on either side of this missing piece, so the story clearly moves through a dangerous transition. But the exact action remains unknowable from the supplied material. So we hold the line, keep the recap grounded, and pick up when the panels give us solid proof again. Now watch how the story weaponizes charm. Qingjun appears with an older green-haired man, thinking through a risky matter connected to Hanju, and the system-style notices make it clear her feelings are becoming a problem. Hanju's whole strategy is avoidance, but his own ridiculous appeal starts sabotaging him. He realizes that his top-tier charm, which sounds like a blessing, might actually be a trouble magnet. The scene even gets physical and comedic, with Qingjun making a forceful move that sends the green-haired elder flying or dragged away. Then the setting shifts to snowy mountains, where a small round-masked follower struggles after his master and keeps asking about the woman tied to Hanju. By the time a Demon Lord-related notice arrives at the Sect, the pressure is clear. Hanju is trying to hide, but the women around him are not letting him disappear. Then the pink-haired woman in purple steps into the spotlight, and this is where the bargain turns sharp. The brown-haired cultivator has somehow drawn out a ridiculous amount of treasure, including glowing manuals and strange talisman-like items, and even he admits that producing so much is not easy. The small black bird companion is basically the audience here, panicking at every escalation, because the woman in front of them is not someone you casually command. Hanju, or the cultivator, tries to frame the situation like a negotiation. Can she help deal with the Raincoat Sect? She shuts that down with terrifying clarity. She does not care about the Sect. She cares about him. And when he asks what the price would be if she promises to help, the answer is not money, treasure, or loyalty. The price is cultivating together and growing stronger together. The story then plunges into a brutal cave or dungeon-like battle, and the tone gets nasty fast. A blue-robed cultivator and his small bird-like companion face a blood-soaked, white-haired enemy amid ruined stone and bodies, while dark narration hints at a being whose body can be destroyed over and over before the soul truly dies. That is nightmare fuel. The panel shows slashes of blue-green power, injured figures, and a masked or hooded presence interrogating someone in the wreckage. Then, just when it feels like the scene is all horror, the manhua swerves back into comedy with reaction beats, system-style messages, and a pink-haired figure appearing in a cut-in. But Hanju does not stay passive. Golden force erupts from him. He later meets a large green-haired man outdoors, and then he stands before purple lightning like a lunatic, basically daring heaven to hit him. Next, we open on a damaged mountain compound buried in a cold, ruined atmosphere, where two ragged captives are terrified by a dark hulking attacker. A gray-haired man reacts from inside a cell-like stone room, and everything points toward another grim disaster. Then impact hits. Something smashes through the structure, debris rains down, the captives panic, and the danger gets interrupted in the loudest way possible. The scene pivots into comedy with Hanju, his round black chicken companion, and a floating status-like document, because this series loves putting cosmic danger next to goofy reactions. Then the pink-haired woman returns, and her exchange with Hanju feels playful on the surface, but tense underneath. She presents or channels a glowing purple orb, and right when you think this is just another weird romantic power negotiation, Hanju reacts to a shadowy cave-like vision while the chicken realizes something is wrong. The final stretch shifts from misty danger into a brighter Sect gathering, where disciples and elders seem to be preparing for a major public event or contest. There are crowds, formations, powerful lights, and plenty of older cultivators talking like the stakes are bigger than a normal preparation day. Hanju, of course, stays calm. This man is surrounded by hype and still treats attention like poison. Then a white-haired woman contacts him through telepathy and asks what level he is at now. And this is the joke that lands perfectly. He answers that he is only at the first level of the soul formation realm. She is stunned, because he has supposedly spent years in seclusion, and that answer sounds absurdly low. But the comedy is that Han Ju's version of modesty is practically a disguise so good even allies cannot read the monster standing in front of him. This whole stretch is basically the manhwa tightening the trap around Han Ju's favorite lifestyle. He wants peace, silence, and cultivation without attention, but every system notice, every favorability jump, every demon bargain, and every sect gathering pulls him into visibility. The funniest part is that the story keeps proving his paranoia right. Being strong does not make the world safer. It makes people want him more, fear him more, test him more, or misunderstand him harder. Qingjun's rising interest, the demon lord's possessive bargain, the battlefield threats, and the lightning challenge all point in the same direction. Han Ju cannot stay an invisible background cultivator forever. He can hide his realm, downplay his power, and act casual, but the world is starting to notice the shape of something terrifying behind that calm face. And that is where we leave it. Han Ju is still trying to stay low-key, but every new ally, enemy, and heavenly disaster keeps exposing the truth. Like, subscribe, and come back for the next recap, because if the sect of it keeps building, his fake weakness might become the funniest mistake everyone makes.